All right, let's talk about Mercedes-Benz. We all know the name, right? The symbol of luxury, of engineering. But the story behind that three-pointed star is just wild. It's a story packed with genius, bitter rivalries, and incredible survival that, no joke, completely reshaped our world. So how does that happen? How do you go from a kid who was literally going hungry to building one of the biggest luxury brands on the planet? Well, it all starts with an idea. An idea that, at the time, sounded completely nuts. A carriage that could move all by itself, without a horse. So yeah, where do you even start with a story like that? We've got to go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, so our story kicks off with a guy named Carl Benz, born into poverty in Germany way back in 1844. He had this absolute passion for machines, this brilliant mind, and it was a passion that would literally set the stage for a global revolution.
I mean, his life was a constant struggle. Seriously. He's bouncing between jobs, he's on the brink of financial ruin, he's dealing with sketchy business partners, you name it. In fact, his very first company was about to go under until his fiancée, this incredible woman named Bertha Ringer, stepped in and used her own dowry to save the whole thing. Talk about faith.
And then, after all those years of just relentless work, of tinkering away in his workshop, he did it. He actually built it. And listen, this wasn't just some engine slapped onto a cart. No way. The Benz patent motor wagon was a totally new thing, a single integrated machine. This little three-wheeled wonder, it's basically the official birth certificate of the car.
But here's the kicker. People were terrified of it. I'm not kidding. They thought it was some kind of devil's machine that was going to explode. His own business partners told him it was a total waste of time. You know, it's no faster than a horse and way less reliable. And that was the whole problem, right? Carl Benz was an absolute genius inventor, but he was a terrible salesman. He was holding the future in his hands and nobody wanted it.
But get this, Benz wasn't the only one. And this is where the story just gets insane. It's one of the greatest coincidences in history because another brilliant engineer was tackling the exact same problem just down the road.
So what's so wild here is this parallel innovation happening at the exact same time. You've got Carl Benz over here building his complete integrated car from the ground up. And then you've got Gottlieb Daimler and his partner Wilhelm Maybach, who were laser focused on perfecting a powerful but lightweight engine. They ended up sticking their engine on a stagecoach, and bam, they create the world's first four-wheeled car. Two totally different approaches aiming for the exact same revolutionary goal.
And here's the part that just blows my mind. These two guys, the founding fathers of the automobile, were fierce rivals their entire lives. They lived just 60 miles apart. They changed the entire world. And yet, they never met. Not once. Never spoke a single word to each other. Isn't that crazy?
So the guys had invented the future, but they were kind of stuck. It was actually two very different and very amazing women who would take these machines and turn them into the legends we know today. Okay, so Carl's wife, Bertha, she'd had enough. She was tired of everyone being scared of the car, tired of her husband's hesitation. So she just took matters in her own hands. One morning, without telling Carl, she and her two sons just took the car and went on a 66-mile road trip. And she was a total genius on the road. She used her hat pin to clean a clogged fuel line and even used her garter to fix some wiring. Her trip caused a massive stir, and it basically became the world's first, and probably best, car ad campaign. All her. Now, let's jump over to the other side of this rivalry, to Daimler. More than a decade later, another woman's name is about to become legendary. There was this super wealthy businessman, Emil Jelinek, who was Daimler's biggest dealer. He was obsessed with racing their cars, but he always raced under a pseudonym. The name he used? It was his 11-year-old daughter's name, Mercedes. It's Spanish for grace.
So Jelinek goes to Daimler and commissions this brand new game-changing race car. But he has one condition. It has to be named the Mercedes 35 horsepower. Well, that car didn't just win races. It absolutely annihilated the competition. It was so dominant that the name Mercedes became famous, like overnight. Everybody wanted a Mercedes. And just like that, by 1902, Daimler made it official and trademarked the name. A legend was born, all thanks to an 11-year-old girl's name.
So for years, you have Benz and C on one side and Daimler's company, DMG, on the other, just battling it out for the top spot. But then World War I happens, and the devastation that followed would force these two bitter enemies to do the unthinkable.
I mean, you have to picture it.
Post-war Germany's economy was in an absolute nosedive. We're talking hyperinflation so bad that money was worthless. They'd lost all their foreign markets, new competitors were showing up. Neither company could survive on its own. It got so bad their own banks basically told them, look, you either merge or you're both going under. And so, in 1926, after 40 years of being at each other's throats, the two oldest car companies in the world finally buried the hatchet. They merged into one company, Daimler-Benz AG. Think about it. They combined Benz's legendary quality with Daimler's incredible performance. And from that merger, we get the brand we all know today, Mercedes-Benz. The new company was a huge success, but just as it was rising from the ashes of one world war, its story was about to take a profoundly dark turn as the Nazi regime came to power in Germany. The Nazi regime basically adopted Mercedes-Benz as a symbol of German power. The company built these incredible Silver Arrows race cars that were used for major propaganda wins. They also made the luxury cars that all the high-ranking officials, including Hitler, drove. And then, once World War II started, all civilian car production just stopped. The company went all in on the war effort, churning out military trucks and aircraft engines. To keep up with the insane demands of the war, the company's workforce just exploded. It grew to over 63,000 people. But where those workers came from? Well, that's the absolute darkest chapter in the company's entire history. Just look at this. By 1944, nearly half, almost 50% of the entire Daimler-Benz workforce was made up of forced laborers. We're talking prisoners of war, civilians who were kidnapped from the countries Germany occupied, and even people taken from concentration camps. They were all forced to work in absolutely brutal, inhumane conditions, all to power the Nazi war machine. So, when the war finally ended in 1945, the company was just obliterated. Its factories were rubble from Allied bombs, all its foreign assets were gone, and it had to face its own terrible role in the war. And yet, what happened next is just staggering. It was an unbelievable comeback. They literally started from nothing, from the rubble, and began to rebuild. The company became a huge part of what's known as West Germany's economic miracle. It's incredible. Just 9 years after the war, their sales were through the roof. It was like a phoenix rising from the ashes, right back to being a global powerhouse. In the years that followed, the company really leaned into this promise of perfection, of being the absolute pinnacle of engineering. They adopted that famous slogan we all know, the best or nothing. And, it was way more than just a clever marketing line. It was a statement. It was their way of trying to redefine their legacy, to build a new future based entirely on quality. So when you look at the whole journey, it really makes you think. This story shows you that a brand, a real legacy, is so much more than just a product or a logo. It's the sum of everything. All the brilliant moments, all the broken parts, and the struggle to rebuild. It's the entire complicated story, all of it fused together.